Hi guys, I'm here to do stir fry and jasmine rice. So stir fry is your first cooking method. Stir fry is high heat with a little bit of oil. I have a ton of different vegetables to show you today. We're just gonna do a veggie stir fry and we're gonna do it in grapeseed oil, which is a high temperature oil. You can use vegetable oil, canola oil, avocado oil, coconut oil if you want to. Just make sure it's a high temperature oil. Extra virgin olive oil is not a high temperature oil and it'll burn if you use it for this. So I have my rice going and that's what I want you guys to do first. So for you guys, I want you to do 2 cups of water and 1 cup of rice. You're gonna get your water to a boil. You're gonna add your salt to it. So it's gonna be 1 teaspoon of salt, 2 cups of water, 1 cup of rice. You're gonna get your rice in there. Once the water's to a boil, add the salt, get the rice in there, and you're gonna stir it and then bring it back up to a simmer. Once it's at a simmer, which will happen really fast, you're gonna put your heat down to medium and you're gonna add a lid to the top. If you have a lid that's like mine, that has a little bit of a lip in it, then you can add a couple tablespoons of water to the top of that lid and it'll help you be able to tell when the stir fry is done. So, I don't know if you can see that or not. Adjust my camera just a little bit so you can see a little bit better. There we go, there we go. Okay, so a little bit of lip in there, and I'm just gonna add like 2 tablespoons of water to the top of that lip. Perfect. 2 tablespoons, just a tiny bit of water to the top of that lip, and then when the water's evaporated, you'll know that it's done. If you don't have a lip in there, let's say 15 minutes and turn off the heat. So 15 minutes on the heat, turn it off, and just let it sit, which we'll go over a few times. All right, so cutting up all the different vegetables. So we're gonna make the sauce first and just let the sauce sit for a little bit. So for the sauce, you're gonna mix your soy sauce and your water in a bowl with your cornstarch. Now I'm making a big batch, so the batch you guys make is enough for, I'd say 2 or 3 people, but if you want more, then you can definitely double the recipe. And then rice vinegar. So rice vinegar is where you're gonna get the sweet from in your recipe, and then you're gonna add a little bit of sugar to that. So I would say like 2 teaspoons of sugar, which are in there, and then you're gonna mix it up. And then to that, I'm gonna add my garlic and my ginger. If you've never seen ginger root before, this is ginger root. So ginger root is awesome. I used my spoon, my ginger peeler. And you guys wanna have a compost bowl out. I've already peeled my carrots and that's what's in my compost bowl right now. But you can take a spoon and you can peel ginger pretty easy. So I'm holding my spoon like this and my thumb's holding onto the ginger and I'm peeling down. And you just wanna get that skin off. Ginger has a lot of homeopathic qualities to it. It'll settle your stomach. Like if you're having a stomach ache, it's a really good thing. Pregnant women use it to settle their stomachs when they're having morning sickness. You can chew on ginger and it'll help a lot. People use it. I use it in this special tea that I make when people are getting sick. It works really well. So I'm just gonna do that. The ends are kind of hard, so I'm just gonna cut those right off. And then I only need, for my recipe, for your guys' recipe, you're only going to need, what is it, a teaspoon of ginger. So I have about a tablespoon here. So ginger's really fibrous. So remember, you guys are to hold your knife. You're gonna hold against the bolster, 2 fingers and a thumb, 3 fingers tucked behind your claw. And you're gonna slice it right along the ginger. And you're gonna go back and you're gonna mince it. You're gonna mince it like you mince garlic. So get it all together, just go right over the top of it. So I like to hold my hand like this, and remember, we're not putting our finger up here like this, we're pinching right here. And you wanna mince this really fine because ginger's really, really strong, and getting like a bite of ginger is kind of crazy. It's a little too, it's not only kind of spicy, but it's a little strong. Do that. Okay. So then I'm going to add this to my sauce. So this is what we call an aromatic. Another thing that we call an aromatic is garlic. So if you remember, with garlic, the head of garlic, you push down on it like that, and it'll release all of the garlic cloves. I'm gonna do 3 cloves of garlic for this. Remember, you're gonna cut off that little end. Cut off the little end on all of them. You're gonna mince this guy too. So, get my ginger off of here, get my peeler off of here, get everything out of the way, and I'm gonna smack it. So remember, blade facing towards the board, hit it. Blade facing towards the board, hit it. So then, super easy to peel off all this extra paper. That won't break down, remember, in the cooking process, we wanna get it out of there. And then, this is a good time to pull out your sanitation towel that I know you guys have available, and clean off your board a little bit of all that stuff that's not gonna break down. I'm just gonna set my compost bowl off to the side, get it out of the way. Okay, and then I'm gonna mince my garlic. So mince, same way, got the claw, holding my knife, 2 fingers and a thumb right up against that bolster, 3 fingers tucked behind. Then I'm gonna mince it. Same thing with garlic. You wanna cut garlic pretty small. This garlic and this ginger is not gonna be cooked for very long, so we want it to be really small so we make sure that it gets cooked all the way and nobody's eating any raw garlic. There's nothing wrong with raw garlic and it's not gonna hurt anyone, but I like to make sure that it's cut fine so no one gets a bite of raw garlic in their stir fry. Okay. There we go. So I'm gonna scrape up my raw garlic and put it in my sauce. So I'm sure you guys made oobleck in elementary school or know what it is, but that cornstarch being in there, that's gonna settle right to the bottom. So remember, before you put it into your stir fry, you wanna give it a good stir. So the cornstarch is what's gonna make the sauce for us. It's gonna thicken and make a sauce. So stirred it right up. So now I'm gonna cut my vegetables. I'm gonna kind of looking at my rice, making sure nothing crazy's going on, but I'm gonna cut my vegetables. I'm gonna do a half of an onion, and I'm gonna do the julienne cut like we did before. So if you don't like longer strips of onion, you could do the dice, and I'll show you that one too. So remember, 2 fingers and a thumb, 3 fingers tucked behind. You have your sprout end that we're gonna cut off just the top. We're gonna turn it around, just cut the hairs of the root end off, because remember, we want that root to stay intact. And then we're gonna cut it in half, right through the root. So you see the root right there? We're gonna cut it right in half. Okay, I'm gonna peel off anything on the outside that I don't wanna eat. So remember, once you can get down this first layer, and then you have this layer, it sometimes ends up being a little bit rubbery. I think that's really dangerous, so I just peel the whole thing off. And then I'm going to peel off this one. And remember, sometimes you can get down 2 layers and the next layer is looking kind of gross. Just peel that right off. If you get down and you have the insides rotten, just toss it and start over. Okay, so 2 fingers, 3 fingers tucked behind, right up against that bolster, remember, 3 fingers tucked behind. None of this action. And I have the claw. My root end's facing away from me, and I'm just gonna follow those lines, just like you guys did in the knife skills video. So I have it at an angle, it's about like that, not quite 90 degrees. And I'm gonna go straight down, come over a little bit, and I'm just gonna keep doing that, crawling backwards with my other hand. So remember, that's, if you cut off right here, that's julienne. So julienne would be all those nice little strips. And you can just toss this away. If you're gonna dice it, you're gonna do the same thing, root against, away from you, claw. And you're gonna cut all the way down. Remember, don't tip of the knife, you don't want to go through that root because that root's holding it together. So going all the way around. So if you don't like bigger strips of onion in your stir fry, totally fine. You're gonna dice it. So have my claw and I'm gonna hold my knife up here like this, cut straight down. Come over a little bit, cut straight down. And I'm gonna do that just rocking. See, the tip of my knife is pivoting against that board. Remember, this can get a little uncomfortable and kind of wobbly. If it feels unsafe, it probably is unsafe. So if it feels not wobbly, just knock it over like that. And then cut right around, and then you're not wasting a lot of onion. Okay. So I'm gonna put my onion in different containers, because remember, we only want to work with one thing on the board at a time so we stay safe. So onion, and I'm actually going to use the julienne because I really like onion. I might use both because I really like onion. So we're going to keep them in different containers because everything's going to cook differently in our stir fry. The next thing I'm going to cut up is the carrots. So the carrots are going to take the longest to cook in the stir fry. I'm going to cook them with the onions because I want a little extra cooking time, a little extra caramelization on the onions. So you're going to want to cut off the ends of your carrot. And then remember, you don't want to cut anything longer than your knife. So cut it in half and then cut that in half, right down the middle. And I'm going to cut bite-sized strips at an angle. So like this, at an angle about 1/4 of an inch thick. If you cut much thicker than that, I'll show you guys that, just like that, and you want it to be bite-sized. Ooh, that onion's starting to get to me. So just like that, if you cut bigger than that, then they're not going to cook and you're going to have really al dente carrots, which I don't mind. I really like carrot, that crunch to a carrot, but you want, in a stir fry, you want it to be a little bit softer. So do that. And you guys are going to cut up for this recipe about 1/4 of vegetables. So got my carrot there. If you have parts of the carrot that look like that, you're just like, oh, I don't know if I want to eat that. Just go ahead and toss it. Remember, and you want bite-sized pieces. You don't want someone chomping down, trying to put that on their fork and trying to eat at it. Picture yourself trying to eat in front of somebody you want to impress. And also at the same time, I've seen people try to cut carrots really, really small, and those are just going to turn to mush in your stir fry. So let's keep them about 1/4 of an inch on a bias. So something that looks like that. Okay. So then we're going to get that into another container. We want to keep them separate because we're going to cook these at different levels. So I got some asparagus here. Asparagus is awesome because it tells you, do you want to cut off the ends or break them off? So wherever it breaks is the woody part. So this can be discarded. Asparagus isn't actually in season right now, so it might be a little more than what you see in the winter time or in the summertime. So I'm going to peel all that off. And asparagus is going to be the next thing I cook after my carrots. And I'm going to cut that kind of the same way on a bias cut, like this, about pieces like that. Just something you would want to see on the end of your fork. Definitely in class sometimes I've seen people cut them just like this, little pieces. Those turn to mush. And I love asparagus, but that mushy asparagus is not my jam. So cut them in nice pieces. Plus it'll look nicer on the plate if it's cut kind of decoratively like that. And you can do a few at a time, just like that. So there's my asparagus. That'll be the next thing that goes in. And then let's see, broccoli. So broccoli's kind of awesome. I just take my knife on broccoli with the tip and I cut off those florets, and I'll just keep turning them and cutting them off like that. So it should just go right in, cut off the floret. I like the stems of broccoli. There's a lot of sugar in the stems, but for this application, we'll just ditch them. But for soup, definitely you would cut those up and puree them down. So now we're just gonna take the tip of our knife, go right in and make these into more bite-sized pieces. So that's about a bite-sized piece, something like that. We're getting quite a lot of veggies going on here. My rice is cooking beautifully. I have 6 minutes left on my timer. But you can see that water is going away. So use a towel and check it out. I can see that most of my water is gone. So I'm gonna turn down the heat. And I'm gonna let it go for just a few more minutes. Put my broccoli in here. And then I'm gonna cut up my bell pepper. So there's a ton of different ways to cut up a bell pepper. My favorite is to cut the top off and the bottom off. Cut straight through the side, and then it'll open up like this. You're gonna pull out the seeds and the pith. A little fun fact, this isn't a hot pepper, this is a sweet pepper, but hot peppers, the capsaicin, the heat comes from, people think it's the seeds, but it actually comes from this white pith, a majority of it. There is some heat in the seeds, but if you want something not to be hot, if you're using a jalapeno in something and you just want the pepper taste and not the heat taste, then you're gonna pull out this pith as well and wash your hands really good with cold water and then hot water. But I'm still gonna use these pieces too, because I don't like to waste anything. I'm gonna clean off my board, clean it off into your hand so you don't have to sweep later. So then, the reason why I like this is because you can hold on to it like a handle and then cut it into these nice strips. This is kind of a big bell pepper, so I'm gonna break these into half, or cut these into half, just so Miss Chapman doesn't get upset with me for eating big pieces of bell pepper for lunch. Okay, so now I have all these, that's a lot to be on the end of a fork. So I'm just gonna stack them up like that and just cut them right in half. Just make them a little bit more user-friendly. Okay, and I'm gonna cut these up when I'm not on camera so I don't waste your time. I'm gonna do a zucchini. A zucchini is just like bell peppers, a lot of water. So we're just gonna cut off the ends. It's gonna go in one of the last things. And you can either do like half moons like this, you could cut it on a bias like we've been cutting. I'll let you guys kind of decide. That's kind of a big one, kind of bigger pieces, and it's up to you how you feel about that. I'm gonna turn off my rice. And then the last thing I have here is mushrooms. Mushrooms don't take long to cook at all. So they're gonna be the last thing that goes into the pan right before, or into the wok, right before I add in the sauce. So you can kind of see I'm lining, or I guess you can't see, but I will show you this. So I'm lining things up in order of how I'm going to cook them. Broccoli, bell pepper, zucchini. And then the last thing is the mushroom. You can cut the mushroom however you want. I'm just gonna do slices. If you like mushroom a lot and you love that flavor, you can do like quarters. Just depends on how you want to see it on your plate. So now that I have everything cut up and ready to go, I'm going to start my wok. So if you don't have a wok at home, it's not like do or die. You have to have a wok to do this recipe. It's nice to have a wok because it has the sides, and it's just made for this kind of cooking, and it's carbon steel, so it heats up a lot faster. But a larger saute pan, which is, or like a sautoir, which is straight-sided. I don't have a larger saute pan handy. saute pans are the ones, the sides go out like this. This is a sautoir and it's got straight sides. Either one of those would be totally fine. Just make sure you can fit all your vegetables in there and move them around so they cook. Sorry Abe. I'm gonna take my rice off the heat. When you guys take your rice off the heat, set it somewhere, or set it on the back burner. Don't set it on a countertop where it could burn something. So this is my wok, and I wanted to show you guys this. So this is what a wok looks like. It's got the sloped sides on it. This is what it looks like when you use metal on it. So somebody along the way, I know it wasn't one of my students, but somebody along the way used metal in this, so it gets scraped up that pan. What I want you guys to use at home is either a wooden spoon or a rubber spatula, no metal. Okay, so remember, stir fry is high heat, so I'm gonna crank my heat up as high as it goes. What I want you guys to do at home as you're practicing is do like a medium high heat, whatever that means. At home on your stove, if it says medium high, or if there's number somewhere between medium and high. Okay, so I'm gonna do a couple tablespoons of oil. Like I said before, I really like grapeseed oil. It's got a really high smoke point, and what that means is that it won't burn as fast once it gets hot. So I'm gonna add my grapeseed oil in there, and I'm gonna wait for it to actually smoke just a little bit. And I'm not waiting for like tons of billowy smoke, I'm just waiting for a little bit of smoke to come off the pan. There was actually a little water in there, and so it's yelling at me because water and oil don't like each other. And you can also see when a pan starts to get hot, if you move around the oil, and I actually have a little too much oil in there because you just want it to coat the pan. But you should see, if you move it around like that, you should see legs starting to form. The oil starting to come down like legs on the sides of the pan. So I'm waiting for that to heat up and a little bit of smoke to come off of it. And then I'm gonna saute up my onions, or stir fry up my onions. So I don't know if you guys can see it, but there's a little bit of smoke coming off of it. So I'm gonna add in my onion. And I have a lot of onions because I love onions. So I have my wooden spoon here. I'm gonna break up those julienne pieces. And I'm gonna keep it moving with that high heat. So I love when onions get a little bit of flavor, or color on them, so a little bit of caramelization. So I'm gonna let it be for just a second. I'm gonna cut up some more of this asparagus while I talk to you guys. But onions have a lot of natural sugar in them, so if you let them sit for a while and cook, all those natural sugars will come out and it'll make your stir fry taste better. So I'm gonna let it sit for just a second. I'm gonna run over here really, really fast. Okay, so I want you guys to practice just keeping it kind of moving around a little bit. If you want, you can practice sauteing it. So bring it to the bottom of the pan and kind of go over. So go away from you and then back towards you, like that motion. Things need to be pretty hot for you to do that. So I have the onions in there. Once the onions start to look a little bit translucent, like see-through almost, like we talked about with the onions, then you can add your carrots. So the carrots are gonna take a little while to cook, a little bit longer to cook. And as you guys are going, make sure you're cleaning up your area, making sure your parents aren't getting mad at me. Check your floors, see if you have any extra dishes you need to wash, go put them over at the sink. Just get everything nice and tidy. Because a clean chef is a good chef. Maybe wash your hands. That's a good idea. So, saute that up a little bit. Have that on pretty high heat. We use induction burgers in the kitchen. That's all I have at Lincoln. So my heat's not gonna get as hot as you guys at home. So I kind of have to like hurry up and wait on this. It'll happen a lot faster for you guys when you're doing it at home. So don't like walk away and do your dishes as this is sitting here. That's what I was going for. Okay, so get your carrots going in there. Scrape down the sides. It's starting to smell pretty good. Okay, and once you can start to tell, it'll take 2 or 3 minutes before your carrots start to soften up a little bit, especially if you cut them like mine, maybe 2 minutes. And then you're gonna add your broccoli, because your broccoli has those, even though we cut them down, it still has those woody stems, so it's gonna take those a little bit. So you notice, if you guys have gas heat at home, which means you have the flame coming straight from the burner, you're gonna have more heat because the flame's gonna come up. If my pan's not sitting directly on the burner, then I'm not getting any heat, because there's a magnet on the bottom of it. So try to keep your pan on your burner. But if you have the gas heat, you can pull it off just a little bit. Just practice your sauteing. If you're not good at it, and you're ending up with your vegetables all over the floor, and you want to practice, you get just a dry pan. You can put like rice in it, dry rice, and practice like that. Or even better, how we would teach it at Oregon Culinary would be a piece of bread, and take a piece of bread and practice that motion, just flipping the piece of bread over, not on any heat or anything, just that motion. It's all muscle memory, and once you get that down, then it's super easy to do it. You just remember every time how to do it. Okay. So this is starting to smell fragrant and delicious. I'm going to add my asparagus. So really, like, once things start to soften up a bit, then you can add something else. And in the end, hopefully everything is cooked and delicious just the way you like it. I like stir-fried the vegetables still to have a little bit of crunch to them, and not be mushy. And I'm sure most of you feel the same way. I grew up eating mushy vegetables, so I'm not a fan of it anymore. So keep everything together. That broccoli is really vibrant and pretty. Make sure you guys wash your vegetables, I didn't mention that, before you get started. And then you guys have your cutting board, or make sure there's something underneath it so it's not moving. Wet paper towel, anything so it's not moving around on you. I'm going to not throw away this garlic, I'm going to use it for something else. Okay, so now I'm going to get my bell pepper in there. See, I'm just stacking stuff up and getting it over to the dish area. And cleaning as I go, because a clean chef is a good chef. And then you don't have to clean as much when you're done, right? Okay. Wash my knife. Okay. So that's looking pretty good. I want my bell peppers to cook a little bit, but remember, that's a lot of moisture in bell peppers. So they don't take very long to soften. So that I'm going to add my zucchini now. And I'm just going to let that cook for a minute or so, and then I'll add in my mushrooms, and that'll be, we'll call it a day. Well, we'll add the sauce actually, sorry. Okay. I also like to make sure my area is really clean, because I don't know about you guys, but I've walked into kitchens before where people aren't staying clean. Aprons are dirty, there's stuff all over the floor, and it doesn't make me very hungry. So I try to make sure that everything is cleaned and sanitized. You guys will see that once you get back into the kitchen with me. I'm a little crazy about cleaning, and I like things really clean in this kitchen. So this looks pretty good. The only thing that still really has all of its shape to it is the zucchini, and I'm fine with that because once this sauce gets in there, it's gonna steam it and it's gonna help it break down really fast. Zucchini doesn't take long at all. So remember with the sauce, you need to make sure that it's stirred. Ooh, I forgot my mushroom stuff. Okay, mushrooms don't take long. And I don't want mushrooms to cook down like a ragu, like where they don't have much to them anymore. I like the mushrooms to still have a lot of texture to them. And I have a lot in this pan, but I'm just gonna feed some people. If you're ever hungry on a Wednesday, that's when I do my demos here. Okay, so remember the cornstarch will settle to the bottom, and the cornstarch is what's gonna thicken the sauce. So you wanna make sure that you stir that up and get all that at the bottom. So I have the cornstarch there. Oop. You see some. So if you're pouring it out and you see a little bit on the bottom, stir it up a little bit more. Okay, so at this point, no more sauteing because there's liquid in there. And I just want you guys to stir. So the cornstarch is gonna activate after it's actually boiling. So if you see it boiling in here, or you see it boiling at home, then just give it a little bit longer. I'm gonna turn off my heat. So I see that it's thickened here. I'm gonna turn off my heat. And I'm just gonna let the residual heat cook the rest and stir it up. If you like more sauce than this at home, so it's not crazy saucy, like there's not a lot of extra to soak up in your rice, you can make a double batch of the sauce and stir that in. So now that is stir fry. So what I want you guys to do at home is plate it up really nicely and send me pictures. So put the rice down, put your stir fry on top, and take a picture with it. Okay? Have a good day.